Okay, so you can see I got that lined up parallel with that, and as I come across here I've got a little marked out that I made it at, I think, 7.5. So do it right up to there, and I'm going to make a line right to there. Okay, so that's where my wing is going to fit in. Now I'm going to make a 3/8. Now I've done this so many times that, you know, it's like I almost don't care anymore to have to measure it because I've done it a million times. So I'm going to make roughly that 3/8 mark right there. Okay, and that's where she's actually going to cut off. So now I've got my section cut out for what my wing is going to go in there, and I've also found the center point of the wing, like we mentioned earlier, and I used my square, just drew a line. It's nice to know where the center of the wing is. Flat side goes up, and that will just slide into there just like so. And that's why it's nice to have the line, because come over across the line, it's, you know, it's very easy, you know, to see where your center is. And this goes on the upper part right across this area here. So now what you're seeing is, if I tilt this up towards the camera here, you see that that lines up. It's nice and square, nice and flush. Everything up here, I just have to cut out my area for my motor mount. Okay, and then usually what I do at this point is I sort of squeeze this part, the horizontal part, you know, very tightly to the vertical part, and make sure first of all that we're as center as we possibly can. And then what I do is I make my ailerons at this point, and then actually tape the ailerons on. And if both ailerons are exactly the same length, exactly the same size, before you glue everything together and the ailerons are hanging and everything's nicely, you know, squared off, then you know that you've got, you know, the wings exactly center, and all this comes into play. And then we just do a little bit of CA gluing. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our ailerons. Okay, this is sort of a kind of a quick way to show you how to make ailerons to be able to fit the fuse, etc., etc. Okay, basically what I've done, I've just got a piece of scrap piece of a foam board here. I've got my wing sitting on top of it. Okay, so that's what you see there, just a junk. Now, because there's a slot cut in the middle of the fuse, you can line up the line that you have drawn out there. Okay, your pen mark or your marker or whatever you've got, and you can pin it down. You know, I wouldn't tape it down because the paper wants to come off, but I can put this on a tripod now, and I think you sort of get the idea of what I'm talking about. I'm just holding this down here now, and this is just a trial thing. All right, so I've got it. I can see my mark. Okay, so I know that the fuse is lined up in the middle, and I can just take my pen and say, okay, how big do I want that aileron to be? Okay, I'm going to mark it here, and on this end I'm going to say how big do I want the aileron to be on the tip of the wing. Come down this far. Okay, there's no measurement that I have in mind here whatsoever. Now theoretically all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this is all moved here. Okay, let's draw a line here all the way out. That's it. Okay, that's going to be my aileron. And now I'm basically just going to lay my straight edge down like so. That's it. Okay, where do I want it to go? Okay, no mistake there. I'm just making the line. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just quickly cut out this aileron. pause the camera. So theoretically what you're seeing now is your two ailerons, and notice how they're angled back, and that's because once we put the fuse on there, depending where we got that thing all lined up, you get the idea. Okay. So now we know that, okay, there's going to be our ailerons, and if I have to do a little bit of minor trimming, sometimes what happens is I cut them a little bit long purposely so I can do some adjusting on this side and get them as square as possible and as tight to the side of the fuse that I possibly can. Things are kind of shifting around, but you see what I mean, okay? So that's how you can determine what your aileron size is. To give you an idea, on this aileron is, I ended up cutting this about 4 1/4 and about 2 inches on that side, and it's almost 14 inches long, okay? So you do 2 of those exactly the same. Now we're gonna tape them on, but first, a very important point is we have to bevel those edges, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. Now, important, make sure you got your lefts and rights right, and make sure you got your orientation correct, because what happens is you can cut the wrong side or the same side and then have a beveled side on the top of the wing and a beveled side on the bottom of the wing. We want the bevels to be in the bottom of the wing. Okay, so we're going to put them in place as they're supposed to be on the plane, and we're going to flip it over onto its backside. And that's where we're going to take our straight edge. Just going to check the camera angle here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and use maybe roughly about 1/2 inch. And this is where it's very important to have a very tight fit. You want your straight edge to be fitting on there nice and tight, and you need a very, very sharp blade, because what we're going to do is now we're essentially going to follow that straight edge on a 45-degree angle. Okay, so giving that all things are working out all right here. Shorten the blade so there's less play in it. Follow that straight line. Okay, that came off fairly nicely. Now if you look, you can definitely see there's a 45-degree bevel onto the wing, like so. It sits really nice and flat. Okay, look how nice and flat. And I've got that maximum deflection that I'm able to, that I want to get. And of course it'll do the same once it's taped on here. That's the bottom side, just so you can see how that all goes. I'll do the same for the other wing, and then we'll get into the taping idea, and you can see how you have that lots of deflection. You need all that deflection when you're flying 3D stuff. So here, and that's where you want to make sure that you've got your orientation correct, because sometimes you just grab it and say, okay, let's cut this edge off, and you cut the damn edge off wrong. Okay, so I know I want to cut on this side, so, and you can clearly see the 45 degrees there. Okay, let's talk about taping. There's my beautiful dog looking on. I brought this Expedition outside because it's such a nice day and whatever. Okay, when you're taping these ailerons, what you want to do is you just want to first of all start with just a couple little tiny pieces of Scotch tape. Okay, that big. That's all we need. 2 little pieces, just like so. And we're going to line up. I'm going to stick one piece of that Scotch tape. Actually, we'll put it about 3/4 of the way down here. Hopefully you're getting that. And we still have an elevator and a rudder to deal with, right? So this is not a permanent thing. It's just to make sure that your ailerons are the right size. We're going to put it at the edge of that. I hope you're getting that. And we're going to put it at the 45-degree angle that we cut. And that's where we're going to push it down. If I can get it, see that? Boy, it's over bright out here. And then I'm going to go up here, make sure that's at the top and at the 45-degree angle, like so. Okay, so now we have a free free moving hinge, okay? There's no drag on that hinge, there's nothing on there, just all a good thing. Okay, now we're going to see how things line up. And now you see why if you cut them just a little bit extra long, then you have a little bit of room to play. Let's say this comes up and it's a little bit too far over and it looks like that. Once everything's all squared off, well, it's just very easy. You can just lay this on a, your kitchen table flat like that. Just take a knife, your straight edge, and give yourself, 1/8 of an inch, whatever the case. Okay. So they get put on there. Now that's how your hinges are going to go. So you can see the distance from the hinge there. And again, we still have to do the rudder and the elevator. So at this point, what I would do now is, if I put the other aileron on, if that's okay, my other pieces are cut, then I would just go ahead and start gluing, and we'll get to that. But we have to cut the other pieces first. So it's like almost one of those Hawaiian shows, where all of a sudden they go outside to the blue weather, blue sky, and everything by the sand. There's no babes running around out here, but whatever. We're gonna time out. And when it comes to making your rudder, I am a rudder lover, let me tell you that. These planes is all about rudder. You just use your rudder a lot, that's all I can say. Out of some of the scrap that you've got now, you'll find some chunks and things like that. You want to find a piece where you've got, a good length on an area. In this case, I'm just going to draw a line now. Notice I got my dragger. Okay, I gotta have an area for my dragger. So I'm gonna just draw a line right here. Okay, and I'm gonna go across this way. All right, so now I can drop this down. I know that this is gonna go from there, and I'm gonna draw a line here, and I'm gonna trace the top of this here. That's where that's going to get cut. Okay. So basically, I'm just going to shape my rudder just with a pen. What I want to do is I want to sort of maintain that style that I've got going here. So I'm going to come up like so, and then I'm going to draw a flat line. Grab my other square, because it's all about rudder. Okay, and I'm gonna draw a line here. Okay, and I know that this is where, actually this area here, I got a fly flying around here and it's driving me crazy. This area here that's traced out, all this area actually doesn't have to be beveled when it comes time to do your beveling, but just for doing it, we're going to bevel it. Okay, I'm going to just draw that straight line up to there. And now I'm going to say, okay, how big do I want that rudder? Well, I'm going to make that rudder humongous. I'm going to go to there. And like I say, I've made enough of these to say, okay, that is going to work. So I'm just going to cut out the rudder now, and then we're going to bevel the one side. We're going to do our beveling, so pick your side. Make sure you get that held down nice and tight. 45-degree angle. And again, I said we could only do the portions where the rudder's actually attached to the airplane. Okay. I'll just straight there.
I forgot I was recording. I'm just cussing at the mosquitoes. Not very nice language.